Well, I'm going to do you at the beginning.
Yeah, and then, halfway through the show.
Yeah.
From Erie's own Government Access, Channel 9, from the City Hall Council Chambers, it's time once again for the Taxpayers Hotline Show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host.
That's the white screen. Three guys today.
Looks like the Pumpkin Man's in the middle. I'm wearing my brown shirt today.
I see that.
And my
That
calves.
Cleveland Browns. Huh?
And calves, too.
And calves.
Yeah. So, hey, DJ didn't make it, but I have two of my favorite friends, Mr. Carl Anderson and
John Steiner.
I knew you wouldn't forget.
Yeah, they know who I am.
And Kaskowski City Councilman. Rules real quick. We'll touch any subject, just keeping it in the bounds of good taste, and let's try not to get personal. And with that, we already have our first caller. Go ahead.
Hey, how's it going down there?
Well, I'm good now. I'm surrounded by, on the right and the left.
Where's bodyguards for the day?
Yeah, I'm better protected than the president.
You have bodyguards for an hour.
There you go.
Bodyguards for an hour. Well, I can't watch you on TV because Time Warner's all screwed up again.
Is it you, John, or is it your TV?
It's the TV.
When DJ was here, he said some of the TVs you have to
I
retune
rebooted
them.
mine about 4 times.
Okay, and it's cable ready, right?
Yeah, I guess. Well,
I'd give them a call and see what they can tell you, because
it's like trying to call the president on his cell phone.
yeah, you're absolutely right. I've had I don't know how it's going to be with Spectrum now, but
Well, I had it last week, and this week I don't have it, and I had it for the beginning of the week, and now I'm getting the quiz shows and religious stuff. But the reason why I called, because I read the View yesterday, another View from in the newspaper.
yeah, I try not to read that because I try to maintain a normal lifestyle.
Oh, I can't see this new little lady that's she's a communications client relations for Erie events.
Oh, you mean the article about the?
Hotel tax exemption.
Well, John, if you think about her paycheck, it probably has a lot to do with it.
That's true, but I can't see where she says it's benefiting the city and the region.
Well, I'm going to let these two gentlemen have a go at this, but I will say this. Yes, it's nice that we have an arena. Yeah, absolutely, Where her article falls really short is like most young kids, and I blame the NFL for this and the Super Bowl. How do you say is that going to enter into this argument?
How does it enter in?
Well, because most kids think that the NFL began with Super Bowl I. Their whole world is like my friend Fred Rush told me, for a kid, their history is about a week old. They have no concept of what happened 20, 30 years ago. So she begins her argument with the year 2000 when the city turned over the convention authority from a city-run authority to a regional authority. But nowhere in her article does she talk about the 15 or 20 years preceding that, where every time there was a shortfall, guess who picked up that tab? That was the city. At a time when 80 to 100,000 was a lot of money, we were picking up that shortfall.
Well, I thought, I read the article too that he's talking about, and it's great. It just seems that they take the taxpayers' money and they fund it into what's best for them.
Well, yeah,
there's the arenas. The arena holds more people. The Warner Theater, more people come, puts more money into their coffers, and they're putting infrastructure in down where their property is.
Yeah.
And while the city, meanwhile, we're laying off police officers when we've got people shooting at each other on a daily basis.
Well, what she doesn't tell you too, she said, "Oh, look at all the taxes we collect off the workers." Most people I don't think understand that in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, income taxes are a domicile tax. And we don't get a dime out of the taxes of anybody that works at any of the large corporations or makes a nice salary. Most of the teachers, most of the people at City Hall, all take their little money and run over the border.
Like Carl and I have talked.
And we lose all that. We lose the purchasing power, real estate, to everything.
What's the busiest road at 5 o'clock in Erie? 12th Street heading out of town and the Bayfront Highway heading out of town.
Right. Are you listening, John?
I'm listening.
Now, I'm going to let these guys have a little go ahead, and then you too, because
Yeah, I think if the position is intended as a strategic investment to bring more people, more groups, more economic development into the community, then it's something that we need to do. You got to spend some money to make money, and if it's done correctly and if it's done as a strategic investment.
Yeah, but whose money are we spending?
Well, at the present time, they're spending the taxpayers' money. There's no question about it. I mean,
That's right. You can't get state grants and federal grants all the time, or put out a 30-year bond for something where the voters say they don't want it, and they still go ahead and do it.
Well, they're their own entity now. I mean, we've given them the best property in the city, and they're going to build it up the best, and they have whatever profits they make, they keep.
well, you know, I'm not. I looked at this a long time ago when she made a comment also about no other investment, but Tom Kennedy just put a hotel in.
right.
Did we lend him some money? Yes, we did. Mr. Kennedy will pay that money back. Nick Scott is going to do a development. He will take advantage of some loans, probably, I imagine. He got a $5 million grant from the Commonwealth, which, that's the Commonwealth handing that money out. He's also going to generate a lot of that investment from his own money. And if I have a problem with the convention center was when he was going to build them a hotel, they didn't like the quality of it. You know, it's one thing to tell a man who's going to put up his own money what kind of hotel he's going to build. I mean, I realize we would have never had the Sheraton down there. There's no doubt about it. Erie's not a market for that big of a hotel. They would have had to do what they did. Nobody's debating that, but now we're going forward. There's another hotel added, and the mayor and council all agree that we want to get as much taxes out as we can out of that property. I mean, it's one thing for the community around Erie to say, oh, it's for the benefit of the community. That's easy to say when you're up there with all the stores, all the retail, all the residential,
Yeah.
and our people are sitting there wondering. I have a businessman, I don't want to tell you because they'll figure out who it is, but the other day I was in his place and he said, what am I supposed to do?
I mean, they have.
He says, how do I afford this? He said, I'm only 2 blocks away from the city line. Why shouldn't I go over to the other side?
I figured out who it is, Ken, but I won't say.
You figured it out?
But that's not untypical of most of the people that have made an investment in this community. And for those people that have made that investment and the people that have stayed here, particularly those people in downtown, we have to take our hat off to them. I mean, they are the people generating the tax revenue. They're the people who are employing people in this community. And a lot of them, it's been a long road, and they've kept that commitment to the community.
And without them, I mean, it would be even worse on the residential.
And we probably, the community at whole probably doesn't thank the average small businessman enough and appreciate the investment.
What is there for this community to come into downtown there? High parking, no parking, very little shopping places.
Well, John, about the parking, that's always been a sore spot with me.
Well, yeah, but, I go to a place where I had to park for $25-35 to park.
I mean, years ago when the city when downtown was still booming, they had to figure out a way to get more parking for people. I mean, you got, right now you got people that, even though we don't have the retail sector, we still have a lot of people working here. Even at City Hall, a lot of our workers park all over the place.
Yeah, down at City Hall, that's a joke down there. They have a place for the police department, and the police department parks in those 45-degree angle ones.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they don't even have the parking meters fed.
Well, you have City Hall and you have the courthouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have nowhere to park either over there. So.
And the thing is, somebody has to pay for that parking, so everybody says, we should have free
They
parking.
don't get tickets.
Well, you know what? Then either the merchants or the city has to pay for the improvements, the enforcement. I have no problem with the parking authority. If they do one thing wrong,
The parking mechanism.
They do everything right, and people don't like them, you know.
I mean, Carl, you
I'll
know,
tell you what, I come down to City Hall there, and I try to get parking in City Hall, and it's murder. It's all city officials' vehicles.
Well, that's part of the problem, and that has to come from the big boss. He has to set the pace and tell them. I can tell you this, when my sister worked at the mall, they were told, and
Park as far back as you can.
right, and when I worked for a local business in Erie, the only reason I got parking on the side of the building was because I had to go to the bank. That was part of my official job as the bookkeeper and accountant, so I got a break. But everybody else had to find parking wherever they could, because as it was explained to me, it's the patrons of the store that pay your salary. So
All I have to say to people out there, read that article that's in Sunday's paper, B7. Read it all. If you want to see a bunch of lies, it's there for you.
well, it's like Paul Harvey said. There's a story and the rest of the story.
Right.
you know, we want them to exist.
Hey, thank you, John.
We want them to do well. We want them to exist. We want nice arenas. We want, good things for the public to attend, nice places, and to bring people in. I agree. But, when they have, they're not helping the city out. I mean, we are in trouble. If our school district goes down, we are in serious trouble.
We're getting there. Go ahead, caller.
Here's my question of the day for you guys.
Okay.
How could all the Great Lakes states, and including any of the states that are along the St. Lawrence Seaway, how could we get more shipping coming across the St. Lawrence Seaway and go to points west like Chicago, Detroit, Duluth, Minnesota, and we could probably maybe get some trucks off the highway. If this makes sense to you guys, it makes a lot of sense to me. Just to get some kind of shipping going and just get it west using the Great Lakes instead of clogging up our roads.
Well, I agree with you. I'll give which one of you guys wants to tackle it?
Well, I think that, there has been challenges there in trying to make that happen in the political environment. And Erie, to an extent, missed that opportunity because the Great Lakes shipping has reemerged, bringing in products through Canada, from China into Canada. Now, Conneaut, Ohio has reemerged as which was once a dead port, has reemerged as a more hustling and bustling place, and investment has been made there.
So
I think one of the big issues is a strategic investment wasn't made in a timely manner to capture this new transportation route, bringing goods in the cheaper waterways, as the caller said, in the cheaper waterways rather than.
Can you hold 1 second, please? So Wilmington, Delaware doesn't really, not Wilmington, Delaware, Wilmington, North Carolina doesn't really steal all the business anymore, huh?
No, I mean, the products that have been coming in from the Pacific Coast have been coming across Canada by rail and then across the Great Lakes, using the ports of Chicago and trying to make their way to New York City has become astronomically expensive. So they have been in the last 10 years looking for secondary ports. Erie was attempting to position itself in that and couldn't make it happen.
Geez, during the Eisenhower administration, I was a young man when they had that big St. Lawrence Seaway project.
Carl, are you talking about when they expanded the runway, and was it during that period of time?
Yeah, all of that was an
Just hold on,
attempt
sir. We're right with you.
to have the distribution center going down the old, I believe it was the Bessemer Railroad tracks in West County, down through Springfield and down into Albion. All of that, there was plans to create a new rail hub system to bring all of the products that were being brought over from Canada and having this a major distribution center.
The airport the runway was extended, and then they had those buildings.
Right, part of the expansion was that those would be part of the distribution center.
And that was, wasn't that John, what's his name? John
Elliott was.
John Elliott. Wasn't that the
working on
project
that
they were
project.
working? And then it just went by the wayside.
Yeah.
Go ahead, caller.
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
Good.
Excellent, thank you.
You mentioned about the rail line. I'm wondering, has there been any more discussion about the high-speed rail line that was supposed to go maybe between Buffalo to Cleveland, or maybe we could get a branch go from Erie down to Pittsburgh or so, and whether that would ever become fruitful. You mentioned also about the transportation. You know, there's still a railroad track that goes from Erie down towards Pittsburgh along the old Erie Canal.
We do have
Right,
one?
that was the one that I was thinking. I think it was the Bessemer in Ohio, I think, was the.
I thought we never
That
had a
old
line
line.
to Pittsburgh, they told us.
Well, it was a line that went down the old Erie Canal.
Because the big deal was you had to go to Conneaut to get to Pittsburgh by rail, right?
Well, that's because it went down that line, yeah.
It's still in existence. They still use
Right.
it for smaller freight, I think, but
Yep.
that's about it.
We were actually locked out of the high speed, this little segment here, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kyle Faust was a huge champion of the high-speed rail several years ago, and it had some backing in Congress and on the federal level, and I think, with the change of elected officials and, people's, their agendas change, and the cost of the high-speed rail was viewed as something that was still out of reach in this community because it lost some of the backers and believers in it. But I agree with the caller. I mean, I think the future high-speed rail is absolutely something that we should be.
Well, you remember the guy that
pursuing.
came up with a wacky plan, which wasn't really wacky. Maybe the implementation of it would have been, but he had an idea where he wanted to build a monorail down the middle of the thruway because the land was already owned.
Right?
Is useless. I mean,
A lot of communities do that, don't they?
Yeah.
huh?
A lot of communities do that already.
But his idea was, and he thought about this, that why buy land, more land, build, you already own the middle of in a lot of places, the freeway, the middle are still open. Some places they've, collapsed them because they needed more lanes, but
Right.
his theory was you already owned it, you just built these pillars. Now, maybe you couldn't, push, supplies up there, but think about how, you could have been to the Cleveland airport or the Pittsburgh airport in less than an hour, you could conduct business, it would take the pressure off the highways and
I mean, Cleveland's a perfect example of if you fly into their airport, you can hop right on the rail system, and it goes right along the highway, and it takes you right to the city.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of places like that where,
A DC, DC has that.
I mean, we
I
can't,
think the gentleman, and I think this was all part of the time where they were talking about the high-speed rail. The gentleman that came up with the concept of doing it in the center of the highways, I think, was a private businessman looking for other investors, private investors, before they could get any kind of government backing, and I just don't think that he was able to get the amount of funding he needed.
I think it would have been based similar to the Japanese monorail system that they use for high-speed traveling. One of the other things I'm wondering about for summertime, or when the weather is appropriate, why can't we get maybe a helicopter ride system in the area? I've heard some helicopters going over yesterday, and I got thinking, people probably wouldn't mind seeing the city of Erie or the area around the Erie from a helicopter perspective.
Maybe that's something that we can team up with the Convention Center Authority about.
Yeah, it'll be something
Some of the
interesting.
property that they have down there, having a launching pad.
like a heliport somewhere.
Yeah.
We need.
You guys have a great day.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of nice ideas out there. Part of Erie's problem is it's small. A lot of people view do you really need a helicopter? In Chicago, to go a mile and a half, you might need a helicopter.
Yep.
During traffic, Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, I have a different subject right
That's
now.
okay.
I was watching Channel 9 yesterday, and it said, like, after 3 hours of a snow, you're supposed to clear your walks. Well, I live in a high-rise, and our walks and ramps are never cleared on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday, they were solid ice. So what do you do about that when the maintenance men don't work on weekends and no one comes back to do it?
Well, you can call I think the city engineer's office is in charge of that. But good luck, because nobody here at City Hall has ever really cited anybody for...
Well, I think they should.
Oh, they tried it one time. They were going to make a big push, and what did they find out? That the actual mayor didn't even shovel her walk. But you remember that?
Yeah, but this is a high-rise with the elderly.
I understand. I guess the only thing you can do is, you have to complain to them, and if the city got involved, if they would, which, I'm not sure they would, they should. I mean, there's an ordinance. There's an absolute ordinance against it. You could probably, call the engineering office and see if they'll do anything, cite them.
Uh-huh.
I can check for you. I mean, but from what
Kaz would be the man to give him a call. And
from what I've seen, though, I haven't seen anybody actively really tag anybody.
It's really, this reminds me back. I remember I did that free shoveling program 4 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that, John. You had that.
Yeah, for senior citizens. And, the amount of people, the calls, we ended up handling about 150 to 200. I was with Perseus House at the time, and we had groups go out. We were so inundated with calls with people that were just physically unable to do it. And for the city to go out and start finding the people that they're just not capable.
Well, my mother's 90 years old, and I get mad at her. She's out there shoveling. She won't even wait.
Somebody at a high-rise apartment that is getting
that should be done.
Rent from people.
That's got to be. They have to have their own staff.
Do you want to tell me where this is, ma'am?
Mid-City Towers.
Ooh, okay.
East 9th and State.
I wonder why. I'm going to talk to Mr. Buchner from the DID and ask him, why they're not pushing that a little bit, because it's not only, when you're downtown, you're not only talking about, unlike a residential area, you're talking about a lot of foot traffic.
Is that Housing Authority property or who?
Mid-City Towers, let me think. No, I don't think that's housing.
No. Huh.
It's an apartment high-rise for the elderly.
It's not the Housing Authority. A private company owns.
NBC owns the building or rents it or whatever.
I'm sorry, who was that, ma'am?
DC. They're out of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
I will try to find out something about that, but, don't hold your breath, because I've never seen them go after anybody. But, downtown we should be doing it, because you got people, conducting business down there.
Yes.
Maybe a call to them to remind them that the folks here that are paying their rent to keep their business going, and keep their property investment going.
And you said
that was some respect.
That was BC. You called it?
No. NDC.
NDC.
Ooh, okay, and they're out of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
What are they? Realty? NBC Realty or something?
NDC.
Okay, I'll try and look them up and see who the owner is.
Okay.
But I'm going to talk to Mr. Buchner, because he's in charge of the downtown area. We probably need to keep these sidewalks a lot cleaner than we do.
Well, aren't they in the downtown improvement district?
Yeah, they are.
Carl? Then shouldn't it?
Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
For the call.
If they're in the downtown improvement district, aren't they supposed to?
They should be taking care of that.
Yeah, aren't they supposed to come through?
She said 3 hours.
I'm not sure if when I was involved in the founding of the DID,
hold on 1 second.
we used to focus on cleaning the sidewalks. I mean, I'm not sure what
they have a little unit
what
that
they do now. Yeah,
They got that Bobcat or whatever.
I think they still continue.
Yeah,
to do that.
the DID should be doing that.
I'm going to ask him, because I didn't think it was 3 hours. I thought it was 24. But she could be right. I have to check the ordinance. Whatever it is, I know I thought it was a reasonable period after the snow stops that they should get it clean, especially with ice. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, Gaz, did you happen to get the list from Zimmerman's office for that rental inspection? Remember I called you last week?
You mean all the businesses?
No.
Oh, you mean what? You mean the criteria?
For the rental apartments.
You mean the criteria?
Yeah. remember I told you last week, one inspector, he inspected just the smoke alarms, and the other one, he's probably inspected 10 different items.
Well, first they claim it's on the internet, but we had a meeting here Thursday. I'll check and see if he sent me the stuff we asked for. If not, I'll go back up there. I did ask for it, but they claim it's on the internet. Have you tried that?
No.
Okay.
I don't have a computer.
Huh?
Remember, I think he called when I was here last time.
Yeah.
And I looked it up on the website.
Was it there?
No, they didn't. I didn't see an exact criteria of what they look for. No, I did not.
I'll see if I can get a list of criteria. He met with us Thursday, and we had a long discussion.
Did you happen to mention some of the items that I mentioned to you that my inspection failed? Remember,
mean
I
with
said a woman was...
when you were painting.
when a woman was painting and the outlet cover was off, and I failed because of that. And the drain cover was off in the basement.
Yeah, they did, and I didn't get an answer I really liked.
Yeah, even the plastic on the windows. I think a lot of in the winter put plastic on their windows.
Because we asked him, we said, what is actually the intent of what we wanted, and what are you doing? We hear that you're either over-aggressive, under-aggressive, you make exceptions for some people, others don't get the exception. I even pointed out a friend of mine who had a restaurant who they forced to put in an air conditioner. I said, I didn't know that was part of the criteria. Especially when the guy was told he didn't have to have an air conditioner, although that would be a bad deal for a restaurant.
Yeah.
He wasn't required to have one, but if he did, it had to be a certain size. And how they got around that was they said, well, you have to have so much air circulation for the health of the people. And I'm going, really? Well, I go to a lot of restaurants, a couple in town, I won't mention them. They got the best hot dogs in town, but there's a little more than a fan in there,
Yeah, there was another one that I didn't tell you that I thought about. In my upstairs apartment, whenever you walk in the living room, one of the boards squeaks.
Yeah.
And he wrote that on his report that has to be fixed.
A squeak.
A squeaky board.
No, we agreed with him on some things that, there were certain things that, we intended a law to cover, but there was...
Well, I think people, even though it's maybe sometimes difficult to go through the process, as long as it's a process that's fair and consistent,
and
I think people are accepting of that.
And we asked him, I didn't get an answer I thought was suitable, but I said, look, if you're in a building and, the guy's walking around and the landlord goes, geez, I'm sorry, I didn't know, so, take your screwdriver right there, fix it. Well, what's the deal, right? Yeah. You can tell when a landlord is, you can tell when a landlord's conscientious. The tenants could be doing something, he goes, they think, well, okay, hang on a minute, take care of that right here.
Yeah, people talk whenever you have, like myself, they probably inspected about 10 different things, and then you talk to other people, they just checked the smoke alarm and left.
Yeah, they got around that by saying not every situation is the same.
No.
Well, yeah, but that, it's the perception out there. The perception becomes reality real quick when it, they said, well, some of these people, yeah, you know what, there are bad landlords. No problem there. But there are a lot of good people that, just work with them,
Yeah, that's right.
Work with them, tell them what they need, and if they can fix it on the spot, let's do it,
How is that process working for the city gas? Have they collected
They've actually
the
collected.
revenue they anticipated?
We think they've collected a little more than they should have. So our question is, let's look at what's happening here. They keep saying they're short of men. Well, if you're making money, let's put another man on there. Because it's supposed to be revenue neutral. But thank you for calling, sir.
Yeah, last week somebody called about a fish market. There's one up on 37th and Peach, going up Peach Street on the right-hand side.
Yeah, somebody told me that after you brought it up, and I actually talked to Eddie Kissel, and because they were here for the study session, Eddie Kissel and Jerry Scribzak, who were with the Sons of Lake Erie. And he said, yeah, there's one up there. And I said, I forgot all about it. It's, where did he say it was? It was next to
I reckon, let's see.
the billiard hall, right?
Yeah, there's where they play pool there in Papa John's.
But he said the same thing. You know, there's not that many fishermen going out there anymore.
Ever since Jerry Mathers closed his place down on East Lake Road.
That was a nice place.
Yeah,
the
that
last
was.
Fisherman.
Yeah, Jerry Mathers was.
Plus, you also had I was telling this gentleman, we had the guys from Dungarvan, our sister city, that had the one across from Blessed Sacrament. They were actually shipping fish from New England and trading to New England with our fish.
Right.
You know,
Well, what killed the fishing industry around here was
the gill nets.
the gill nets. Yeah, they changed the laws regarding the nets they could use.
But the Canadians, I think, are still going at it, right?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, it's, you know, and a lot of it, I think, really, and I hate to say this, is people in Erie don't want to spend a dime for fresh fish. A lot of them don't have the kind of job they can do that. You know, where years ago people had good jobs and they could afford it.
Well, that's the thing, Cass. The downtown. I mean, there's
Well, how many places got fresh fish? Wegmans?
nobody has
And
any.
a couple others. That's
People
it.
that live downtown, all of it's become Section 8 and low income living.
But even in my area, John, if you go to Tops, they got a little fish section. You know, a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, when they first opened up the store, they had a big fish section.
Yeah.
And they had a big section of fresh cut meat.
Yeah.
Now you pretty much have to go out in the suburbs to Giant Eagle out in Harbor Creek or up on Peach Street to get the custom cut meat or the, you know.
Yeah, nobody downtown.
It's market conditions and.
Hey, Kaz, I got one more question.
Go ahead.
The marketplace on 24th and German, why they charge $19 a pound for perch when Lake Erie has so many perch?
Is that Urbaniac? What is up there?
Maniacs.
Is that Urbaniac?
Maniacs, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to say their name.
Well, that's okay. I mean, it's, I don't know. That's a good question.
Here, we have a big lake, and fish cost $19 a pound.
These are special perch.
You know, it could be that,
Well, through all the regulations that they have to jump through.
and probably there's no local fishermen, like
Yeah,
you say,
it's,
Carl.
it's a supply and demand.
All right.
You know, I'm going to ask two people that question. One, a gentleman that worked at the Curtsy Food, and then I'll ask a couple of my friends in the restaurant business, you know, how much they're paying. And I got to believe that it's probably supply and demand that, you know, when guys like Mr. Mathers went out, they probably have to buy their fish from, like Curtsy, probably from Canadians or somebody else, or have it shipped in. Even though you're right, there's fish right there, but I don't think we have any commercial fishermen left.
There isn't.
And my hometown is Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, and they have fish market down there. The perch is $5.99 a pound.
Is it lake perch or is it ocean perch?
Lake Erie perch.
Okay, because you got to be careful. It's not ocean perch.
No, it's not a.
$5 a pound.
Right.
Man, that's
So how could you go 125 miles and it'd be $5.99? Then it's $19.99 a couple yards from the lake.
yeah, that's a good question because I might be taking a ride to Punxsutawney a couple times a year.
Yeah, well, it's Groundhog Day coming up.
Or at least
soon.
next week, for sure, right, Cass? Next week,
Yeah.
for sure.
Hey, what's this now? You guys got beat by Dunkirk Dan or something? They got some guy, some rodent up in Dunkirk now.
Yeah, I heard something about that competition for Punxsutawney, but
I got Stanley Avenue stash in my neighborhood.
Punxsutawney.
I do. I got a groundhog in my yard. Stanley Avenue stash, I call him.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, no matter whether Phil sees his shadow or not, we're going to have at least 6 more weeks of winter.
At least.
I mean, I'm out on a limb there, guys. I mean, but
Hey, you were part of that group that woke up a groundhog in the middle of the night, were you?
No,
Pull him out of his cage and you wonder why he got mad?
no, not me.
I got to go. You know, I've never been to Punxsutawney. I got to get down there.
Just don't blink.
Well, my wife comes from, she comes from like St. Mary's, which is not, you know, on the other side a little bit, but,
Oh yeah, Stroh's beer.
oh, you like that?
Yeah, it's all right.
Someday I'll tell you what happened to a young man when he visited for the first time and he said he was from Erie, they were happy.
St. Mary's is a nice community.
Yeah, I didn't make it into my car. I didn't make it home that night.
They kept you there?
They had the endless tap.
Yeah, Punxsutawney only has 3 blocks long. I remember when they opened up the McDonald's the first time, they had a parade.
Really?
That was my hometown.
Yeah, but you know, there's something to be said for those places, though.
I wish we could come up with a gimmick for Erie to have everybody come here.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, just
Well, they got the groundhog. I don't know who invented that.
you know, even Dunkirk's got Dunkirk Dan now. I mean, what is he? You know,
Well, you can grab Mike. Told you I got
there
Stanley
you go.
Avenue stash.
Stanley Avenue stash. There you go. We'll have to
Hey, thank you, sir.
make a big production out of it.
You know, you joke about these little towns, but they are fun, though. You know.
St. Mary's is a very nice little community.
There is still some old America, downtown, some real historic heritage places.
We goofed when we tore down a lot of these old buildings, though.
Yes, we did.
Go ahead, caller.
Hey, Gad, that fish place on 37th and Peach
Yeah,
is a pet fish store.
it is.
That's not for fish for eating, it's a pet fish.
Are you sure? They told me.
I called Andy's Pub up there, and the guy told me that's for pet fish. That's not
Oh, yeah.
for fish.
I know where the caller means.
Oh, 'cause I thought there was a fresh fish place somewhere,
Well,
but
they sell coral reef in there, and they sell different. It's a fish store, but I don't think you can eat these fish.
Yeah. I think it's called Great Erie Reef or something like that.
Exactly, Greater Erie Reef, correct.
I'm still going to look around. I think outside of a couple of major grocery stores, nobody really has fresh fish that much.
Actually, like Wegmans doesn't have the fishes that often, but Urbaniacs was the one place I did find that they have frozen perch and walleye, and the reason for the higher price is perch got almost overfished this past summer. They were telling me even Pomatumi's restricted amount of perch you're allowed to have at any one time now.
Yeah, that and the fact that there's nobody out there. Years ago we had a lot of fishermen, like John said, until they cut the gill net.
Right. Well, we're getting the Canadian fishing a lot of it too. So that's
Well,
another aspect. But I was informed that the perch has gone up, and so has walleye because of the overfishing.
My daughter lives in Minneapolis area, and one of the big items up there is because she manages a restaurant is walleye. It's like you go to Omaha, it's steak. You go to Pittsburgh, it's a Primanti sandwich and all that. Walleye's huge in Minnesota, huge.
Interesting.
And I said, with all the lakes, I'm figuring why they must have got it from Minnesota.
Well,
They get it from over the border in Canada, and but yet right on the menu, that's a big item. And I go, we got this back home, and it's not but perch is big here,
Yeah.
I've had guys from Philly going nuts for, first thing they ask for.
Other people, they love Lake Erie perch.
Well, because they've never had freshwater fish.
hitting off the fish topic, you mentioned about having something to make Erie unique in its attraction, not so much the groundhog, but remember a few years ago somebody wanted to create a fantastic hot dog deal that would make you put Erie on the map for hot dogs.
Really? Like,
I don't remember where they were going to spice it up and all that and make an extraordinary hot dog dish so that Erie would be on the map for the hot dogs, Smith hot dogs they make.
well, Rochester.
There's no question a Smith hot dog, no matter where you go, Smith hot dogs are the best hot dogs anywhere in the country. I mean, we have them right here in Erie.
You need to get a restaurant maybe that would not only spice it such a way that it's unique to Erie only and get it advertised out the world to make them come here to get one, just like the Philly Swiss sandwiches and stuff they have. And
Well, if you think about it, where we goofed up in Erie, and I said this a long time ago, you go to Philly, and you got the cheesesteak. You have the big cheesesteak war. You go to San Diego, you got the fish taco. You go to, what are they in the Midwest, they got this weird sandwich. I forget what they call it.
Oh, the poor boy?
Yeah, but something else, You go down to New Orleans, they got that stuff, the po' boys and all that. You go to Pittsburgh, you got the Primanti, you got the beef on weck in Buffalo. No one's ever marketed
Buffalo wings.
No one's ever marketed our stuff.
Kaz, I'm on a diet and you're making me hungry.
Yeah, but I mean, no one's ever marketed, our stuff here that's unique. Pepperoni balls, fish balls,
Donut, Mighty Fine Donuts. Whenever we have friends that come in from out of town, before they leave, and this is true, they stock up on Smith's hot dogs and Mighty Fine Donuts.
I got caught at Chicago airport, and a guy was going through security, and he says, you're one of those Erie guys. Yeah, how do you know? He says, you got hot dogs in there. They know.
Yeah.
People around the country, they know.
TSA looks at you and they
Absolutely.
go, it's an Erie guy,
I wish Smith's
Best donuts, best hot dogs in the country.
I wish that they would expand. I mean, why,
What's that?
Smith's.
Well, you know what they have? They're in the Pittsburgh market.
Well, that's...
But, I always get fearful that if you go too fast,
Too big, too fast.
you'll get bought out, and the quality goes down. I think I like the way they're doing it. Because you know what? You can buy Smith's hot dogs in Buffalo. Years ago, you could buy them at what they called the Broadway Market, which was in the Polish zone. And then, now you can buy them at, Pitt? Some of the...
Yeah, they have the stadium concessions there, right?
I don't know if they got the NFL one, but I think they do.
They have the
But I don't know if they got the baseball one, but they got all Pitt athletics.
I think they do have baseball.
So, I mean, it's a start.
Yeah.
Now, if we can get into the Cleveland market, bug them a little bit, get them away from their whatever hot dog they got there, that'd be nice. But, you don't want to see them get too big. But, slow growth.
It would create more
Slow,
jobs.
steady growth wins the race.
I mean...
Hey, thanks, Doc.
I was going to say, if you decide to go with that, I got a great name for it.
What's that?
Admiral Perry's Cannon Dog mounted on a Niagara bun.
I like it.
I like it.
Carl, bring it up to the people he hangs around with now.
This is the Taxpayer Hotline food line, right?
Yeah. Well, it's about Erie, so, we got to promote Erie.
Yes, we do. And I wish there was a way we could, Kaz. I think there's got to be something pertinent to Erie besides the city on the bay.
We used to be.
Way to do it.
We used to be the gem city. Now we're the flagship city. But you know what? I thought about this yesterday. I was watching a movie with Denzel Washington called Fences yesterday, and they showed Pittsburgh, and I'm going, why in the heck can't we have films done in Erie? I mean, we could start a film department under the mayor. I'm not saying to be successful right away, but, we got a ship rather, that almost made a movie, remember? There was supposed to be a pirate movie, almost did the Niagara. We almost got Slapshot, except the city looked too new at the time, and the arena looked too new, which is the old field house. So we lost that movie, but we have, think about it. We have a nice waterfront, a beautiful lake. We're going to have a couple sailing boats when the Porcupine gets done.
We have all 4 seasons.
Why can't we?
Sometimes we have all 4 seasons in one day.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, they did a movie on the apocalypse down in Conneaut Lake Park. They did one, I think, out the peninsula once. But we haven't really had a film
Well, along that line,
that, we're using like downtown
A
area.
film bureau. A film bureau.
Pittsburgh has Pittsburgh and Chicago right now. I mean, all the major action movies that are coming out, they're filmed in either Pittsburgh or Chicago.
Do you know where Denzel Washington did another film down in called Runaway? I think it was with the train.
Yeah,
That was. You know where that was filmed?
it was Pennsylvania.
Powdersport, down to all through that area. Those little towns went nuts. Literally, they could not believe the economic boost that they got. Oop, I apologize on this one.
Drum roll, please.
I wanted us to go, but I was going to say, remember years ago we used to have a underwater scuba diving movie called TV series called Lloyd Bridges.
Yeah. Oh, we Sea Hunt.
Well, yeah, why don't we do something like that with all the sunken ships we have in Lake Erie here? Have some kind of a program based out of Erie to explore these sunken vessels like that with people learning underwater ski, swimming and stuff like that.
That's one thing, but I just think the Niagara is a perfect ship that we could do a lot with We could do period movies on there. It would be good for the Niagara, good for the area. You know,
It's good for us, and it's the flagship of the state, of the entire Commonwealth, so.
now you could do a lot of films out there. You just think about it. You know, you could do a lot of these films at and probably at a cheaper price.
The only thing I feel right now, I feel sorry for the ice fishermen. There's no ice to fish on right now. But I did hear about the die-hard ice fishermen. They went out in a boat and everything was fine, so they cut a hole in the boat.
Then they went swimming.
Thanks, Doug. We'll see you.
Not to change the subject, Kaz, but
Well, you're allowed to.
yeah, we have the GE plant. I heard some good news about that. The Texas plant. Okay, you know they've laid off 300 employees down at the Texas plant.
Laid them off.
Laid them off.
Wow.
Yep. So
They understand production isn't as good as the
Thought it was?
people that we have here.
Go ahead, caller.
Hey, Kaz.
Yes.
This week I was watching your rerun. Last week you were talking about a place in Erie for recycling, a big place.
Yeah, we were talking about. I mean, about having one like that, right?
Yeah, well, I got a good place for you. It's ideal.
Where's that?
The old Hammerl Paper Company. It's fenced in, and it's got a long driveway, and only on the east side of that property there are some chemical places, but on the west side it's wide open.
Yeah, that might be some. I'm trying to think. I think who owns that car?
Pat Black owns that.
Who?
Pat Black.
what's that?
Oh, in Hamrill site?
SB3. Yeah, SB3 Corporation.
What we were talking about was like having maybe once or twice a year having a big pickup there, a place where we could get traffic off the street, unlike French Street, you know, with the city garage. Place where we could just
Yeah, they're
clean up for a couple times a year.
Well, what a lot of the neighborhoods.
very little residential houses too. Only on that one side. You come off East Lake Road. It's got a long driveway. It's all fenced in.
Right.
That'd be perfect place for it.
I thought it was GDIC owned it, but it's Pat Black.
Yeah, Pat Black is there. He's making the investments there with the biodiesel industry. And,
I bet you if we talked to him, he might let us use it.
Aren't they talking about the marijuana thing over there too?
yeah, they have the investments in
Yeah, that might not be.
potentially bringing forward medical marijuana in the community.
That might not be there too long, then, sir. But that's a good idea right now.
One more thing. That guy from Punxsutawney, he says you could buy perch for $5 a pound.
Yeah.
He's in La La Land. Not Lake Erie perch. We're not buying for $5 a pound anywhere.
Well, I asked him if it was that. There's what they call ocean perch, which is.
There was ocean perch. You ain't getting no Lake Erie perch for $5 a pound.
Because if it is, I'll tell you what, I'm taking a ride down there during the summer.
I'm getting about 100 pounds. So, okay, that's all I got, Kaz.
Okay. Yeah, you know what?
We talk about the heritage of the community, and
You guys are bringing phone calls.
well, we like to hear people call in.
Go ahead, caller.
Hey, Kaz, how you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
Every year this recycling thing comes up. Every year I call you and ask, why not during the garbage pickup take 1 week and have that for just tires or electronics? The last 2-3 years I've called and asked you about it. Have you ever brought that up?
I keep bringing it up, but the administration is not receptive to it.
No.
It may have to do with. I'm going to get Sarah Galloway to come on here. I talked to her. Actually, got a hold of her last week, and we discussed some of the ideas that were expressed here. I want to get her on the show so that you callers can ask her questions.
Yep.
Because I think we've all discussed about how it should be run, but they keep saying that it's better the way they do it, but electronics, I understand it's expensive to recycle them, but we got to find a better way of doing it.
I remember when they first started the.
To recycle them, huh? There's no money to be made on recycling them?
Well, a friend of mine told me if you take, DJ said that, if you take like these computer keyboards or whatever it is, they have gold in there or something.
Oh, yeah, all the contacts and that, just about any electronics, there's gold in them. I mean, it's minute. I don't know how you would separate it.
Well, they got companies that do it, though. I mean, I'll tell you how, weird things happen. Well, I remember a few years ago we were approached by a company, and they didn't take them up on it, and I was kind of disappointed. But we have an evidence room here, correct?
Yeah.
And when things are stolen and they're way past, nobody's claimed them, and they probably got reimbursed by insurance, and a lot of it is little stuff, toasters, microwaves. You'd be surprised, TV sets, but they're all down in the evidence room. There are some places that will buy this stuff, and actually make money off it.
Oh yeah.
What Mill Creek does, Kaz, is
that's unclaimed goods is big business in anything from airport confiscations to storage lockers that are never cleared out. If there's money to be made in anything, somebody's going to do it. That's what recycling ain't good for the environment. Somebody's making money on recycling. That's why recycling happens.
Well, even the Salvation Army, you take a lot of stuff there, and the first thing they tell you is if we can't sell it, we're gonna scrap the pans and the pots and all
what
that.
Mill Creek does is
what do they do?
They work with a company out of Cleveland that and actually the recycling program they got out there is really good.
I mean, they come in, they buy.
Yeah, they ship it there, and then they send back a check. And from what I recall, actually Mill Creek made good money on that.
Find out who that is, John.
Whether they make a profit or not, you don't know, but they at least cover their expenses.
I bet you there's money to be made. I mean, from what I hear, it may look like it's labor intensive, but these companies will buy old keyboards and they'll scrap whatever they can out of them.
You said most electronics you can take to most of the electronic stores and they'll take them.
But they won't take TV screens right now. That's the problem. They won't take, even Best Buy, they will not take monitors. That's what a lot of people have trouble with.
Oh, yeah, tubes?
Yeah, they don't want anything. No flat screen TVs, no computer monitors.
I got a family member that redoes old video game, arcade video games.
Yeah.
But he's always looking for 20-inch tubes, 19-inch tubes, because they use them in redoing old video games.
DJ has a group called, I'm trying to think of the name of it, Makers something, or they get together and they collect a lot of this old stuff and try to put it back together, and they teach people how to do it.
Oh, yeah.
How to recondition old CD players and stuff and electronics.
Yeah, well, like I said, though, I was just wondering, I don't know why, out of that 4-week pickup, they couldn't take 1 week just to pick up, no more than a half a dozen tires.
Well, stay tuned. I'm going to try to get Sarah on here. She agreed to come on. I just got to hook up with her at the right time.
Or even I know a lot of people abuse the one large item pickup weekly.
Oh, yeah, they do.
A one large item, put out one electronic item.
And did you ever notice how people, the private sector, and I don't care, they go down through there and they take care of a lot of that stuff?
Before I go to work in the morning, I usually put out a pile of stuff, and when I get home from work, it's gone. I put out another pile of stuff.
Yeah, you know what? I don't care. Whoever's taking it, that's fine,
Some of the neighborhood organizations, they used to, I know they did this on the Lower East Side, they would bring in dumpsters, and you would bring your driver's license, and you were able to dispose some stuff, but you had to be a resident within that neighborhood.
Prove that zip code.
What area of the city do you live in, sir?
I live on West Bayfront, right across from Bayview Park.
Ah, okay.
I'm surprised. So that would be the West Side, the new West Side group over there.
Yeah. Well, I have to call the city at least half a dozen times a year to come pick stuff up that's dumped in the alley behind my house. So
I'm not really happy with the way we recycle things. I think we do a good job, but I think we do a better job.
I think there's money to be made.
I think so. Well, not late. I shouldn't say late.
Like I said, this is America. Nothing happens without money behind it. Even though recycling is good for the environment, if there wasn't money to be made in recycling, look at. I'm trying to think of the name of that garbage company. They're one of the largest companies in the world. There's money to be made in it. That's why it's happening.
Waste management?
Waste management. There you go.
Well, was Mark I. Finley was talking one time about how he thought the city really screwed up years ago. That we could have made money off recycling. I'm going to check into it. Well, next time I go to Allentown, I'm going to try to find out how they got a big facility where they got dumpsters all over the place, and they're all, you got glass and all that. I'd like to see how much they make off it.
There's recycling centers out there by the Yorktown Plaza, isn't there? Don't they take stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's about, in the recycling business, it's about quantity.
Yeah.
It's all in the numbers.
Now, they'll take TV screens, but you got to pay them.
Right.
Hey, thank you, sir.
All right. Yeah, one other thing about the snow removal. I'm usually out there pretty quick, remove my snow, but then the street plows come along and they just plow me in.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about just a driveway apron or crosswalk apron. I only got a couple feet between the curb and sidewalk. They plow in the whole 60 feet of my sidewalk and they just bury it.
Well, we got a couple of spots where 12th Street, east and west.
Yeah, where you got the sidewalk is right next to the curb.
Yeah, we got. I know it's a tough job, but I got one businessman that complains.
Yeah.
He's pretty ticked, and there's a couple residential houses east of East Avenue.
Yeah, I got no
And they really get plowed under.
problem taking care of what comes down from Mother Nature, but when the city plows me in, if they ever tried writing me a fine for not shoveling my sidewalk for what they plowed on my sidewalk, yeah, that would get pretty messy.
Well, you're right. I mean, just think of driving down Burton Street. I remember when we were doing the shoveling, we would shovel it, and the way the street, you have the street, the grass, and then the sidewalk. The plows would come down, and it would just whoop, and then it freezes.
Yeah.
So you can't. There is no shoveling because it's froze.
Yeah, I've actually been out there with a pickaxe and point and shovel to break it up and shovel it. Yeah, it gets pretty bad.
We've all done that in the area. That's
Happens. I don't worry about it again until I see there's a thaw coming where we're going to have a week of 40, 50 degrees. Then I'll wait until it turns slushy and get rid of it.
I remember when I was a young man, I worked for the parking authority, and we got a phone call from an irate businessman because we had the parking lots filled up with snow in the corners.
Yeah.
Oh, as my foreman would say, he'd look up to the heavens and, he brought it, and he will take it away when it's time. Yeah. And all we can do is kind of help him. And we were out there one day, you couldn't make this stuff up. There was like 5 of us out there with pickaxes taking one of those mountains of snow down so we could claim 2 parking spots. But that's when we were only getting paid $2.25 an hour.
Yeah.
back in the good old days.
No labor now. Very few people want to do manual labor anymore.
Well, we must have been, as kids, we were nuts. We didn't know any better.
Oh, hey, I can remember mowing lawns for 50 cents a dollar. Now you ask a kid to mow your lawn, they want $25, $30 to mow your lawn.
I always joke with the late, the gentleman, Dr. Leone from Hunter's Inn. My buddy and I used to do all this. We'd go out with 2 shovels, a pickaxe, a scraper. We'd make a lot of money. A lot of money back then was like if you made $5 in a day.
Yep.
I mean, you could go over to Woolworths or Grant City at Liberty Plaza. You could live like a king.
You were a king.
And if you had a girlfriend, you could buy her something, and all your friends.
Yeah, like I said, I got no problem taking care of what Mother Nature puts on my property, but that upsets me when the snowplow comes along.
Well, they got a tough job, and I'm going to go out with them some night, and I want to watch it.
Especially down here, it drifts in so bad, because there ain't nothing between me and Canada. So where everybody else has 6 inches of snow, I got 4 feet of snow that drifts in there. So, and then they plow that wet, heavy stuff on top of it. So they got to move along at a faster than 25 miles an hour. So I know I get buried. But
yeah, when you plow, you find out real quick that if you don't have the power behind the plow, it doesn't always work.
Oh, yeah, if you don't have the momentum, yeah. I mean, I understand it, but it's still, like I said, I do what I got to do. But if they would ever try and write me a fine because they plowed me in, then it wouldn't work. I would take that as far as I could take it.
Yeah, as far as I know, we haven't done any of that lately.
Yeah. Well, and I live in a neighborhood where most people don't shovel their sidewalk anyway, even if it wasn't plowed in by the plow. But still, it's just one of those things, you go out there, you shovel everything out, and 2 seconds, it's just buried. It takes a couple hours to shovel it out again.
Right. Hey, thank you.
Hey, take care. Talk to you guys later.
Okay.
Take care.
Well, I'll let you guys have the last word before we go out. You were talking about heritage.
Well, it's always great to be here with you, and And I will leave the heritage for another day.
Really? What,
But,
you don't want to have a 2-minute comment on it?
Well, I think we're coming to the end.
We're out of time.
But I think right now there's some exciting things happening in Erie, and we're starting to re-examine and understand some of that heritage that we lost. And there are people out there that are protecting that for us.
Well, my fellow councilman, David Brennan, we've been trying to take some steps on council, cooling off period, all that. Some people say, what are you doing that for? Because I think, as a young man, I watched how the Shays went down, the Columbia Theater went down, different buildings went down that had architectural value, and I think they could have been renovated, But I think, back then there was a different mindset, and now we look and what do we got? Empty lots. And, I think we missed a lot.
I think it's time. I mean, we have change coming. I mean, we're having a new mayor, some, new council. It's time for unprecedented teamwork between the school district, the city, the county. We better all start working, the nonprofits. We all better start working together, because if not, we're all going to go down together.
I tell you this, the city, everybody says, it's great, the area. They look at the Mill Creek Mall area. Population of the county has actually gone down, or relatively been flat for 20 to 30 years.
Right.
It's nothing to be proud of, because you wonder why things don't happen, things don't come. That's it.
Right.
But, hey, thank you for coming today.
Mr. Kwiatkowski,
You guys coming on again?
Kaz, great to be with you, and be happy to come back again.
Anytime. We'll have to try, have to get you on a little more.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate the invite. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching, everybody.
We'll see you next week, hopefully.
Thank you.
You guys brought a lot of phone calls.
No, they had a lot of stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching the Taxpayers Hotline Show on Erie's own Government Access, Channel 9.